The alarm rang through the colony for the 97th day in a row. Tiemann barely flinched anymore. He stood at the command center window, watching the sky burn orange as another section of the outer shield failed. 3 months ago, he had been a simple administrator, processing mining reports and settling disputes about water rations. Now he was making decisions about who lived and who died. "How long?" he asked without turning around. Hannah looked up from her console, her face pale in the flickering emergency lights. 4 hours. Maybe 5 if I reroute power from the southern sector. But that means the families there will have no protection. Tiemann closed his eyes. 400 people lived in the southern sector. Mostly children and elders. Do what you need to do. Buy us time. The Krellith had arrived without warning. Their ship simply appeared in orbit one morning, massive and dark against the stars. They sent one message: surrender everything or die. The colony had refused. They were miners, not warriors, but they had pride. Now that pride was killing them. Elder Kyung entered the room, her walking stick tapping against the metal floor. She was old, perhaps the oldest person in the colony, and she had seen things that others only read about in history files. "Still no response to our distress calls?" "Nothing," Tiemann said. His voice was flat, empty. "The nearest Allied colony is 3 weeks away. Even if they left today, they would arrive to find only graves." "Then we fight," Kyung said simply. "With what?" Hannah stood up, her hands shaking. "We have mining equipment and a defense grid that is falling apart. They have warships. This is not a fight. This is an execution." The building shook as another Krellith bombardment hit the northern quarter. Dust fell from the ceiling. Somewhere in the distance, people were screaming. Tiemann had stopped counting the dead after the first week. The numbers were too large, too terrible to comprehend. He walked to the communication station and pulled up the logs. Hundreds of messages sent out into the void. Desperate pleas for help. Most had gone unanswered. A few colonies had responded with sympathy, but no aid. They had their own problems. The galaxy was a dark and dangerous place, and humanity's colonies were scattered like seeds thrown into a storm. "Try again," Kyung said. "All frequencies. Everything we have." "It won't matter," Tiemann said, but he was already typing. He changed the message this time. Made it simpler. More honest. "This is Vareth Prime. We are dying. If anyone can hear this, please. We have children here. We have done nothing wrong. We just want to live, please." He sent it out into the black, knowing it was useless. Space was too vast. Help was too far. They were alone. The Krellith commander had given them an ultimatum that morning. 48 hours to surrender. Open the gates, give them access to the mines, and perhaps some of the colonists would be allowed to live as slaves. Refuse, and they would burn the entire colony from orbit. No survivors. No mercy. Tiemann looked at the clock. 31 hours remained. "I will not surrender," Kyung said, as if reading his thoughts. "I would rather die free than live on my knees." "That is easy to say," Hannah snapped. "But what about the children? Do they get a choice?" The old woman's face softened. "No, they do not. And that is the tragedy of war. The innocent always suffer most." They stood in silence, watching the displays as another section of the shield flickered and died. The Krellith were taking their time, enjoying the slow death of the colony. They could have ended it quickly, but they preferred to let fear do their work for them. Tiemann thought about his sister. She had died in the first attack, crushed when a building collapsed. He had not even had time to bury her properly. There were too many Badas, and the living needed his attention more than the dead. "Sir!" A young technician ran into the room, his eyes wide. "The sensors are picking up something. Multiple contacts. Coming in fast from the outer system." Hannah rushed to the console. "That is impossible. Nothing moves that fast. The readings must be wrong." "Check them," Tiemann said, a tiny spark of hope flickering in his chest. "Double-check everything." The minutes dragged by as Hannah worked. Her frown deepened. This does not make sense. These objects are moving at speeds that should tear any ship apart. And they are not slowing down. They are just falling toward us like meteors. How many? Kyung asked. 17. No, 18. They are hard to track because of the speed. Teeman pulled up the tactical display. The Krellith fleet was moving to intercept the unknown objects. They were firing, their weapons lighting up the dark. What are they shooting at? I do not know, Hannah whispered. But whatever those things are, they are not stopping. The colony held its breath. Every person who could reach a window or a screen stopped what they were doing and watched. The Krellith bombardment had ceased as the enemy. Fleet redirected its attention to the incoming threat, then the objects hit, not in orbit, not in the upper atmosphere. They came down like the fist of an angry god, punching through the Krellith defensive line as if it did not exist. Plasma fire that could melt a battleship washed over them and did nothing. They just kept falling 18 impacts. 18 craters, each one half a kilometer wide. The ground shook so hard that Teeman was thrown to the floor. Alarm screamed. Power failed and backup systems kicked in. When the dust cleared, he stumbled to the window and looked out at the nearest crater. Something was rising from the smoke. Something enormous. Metal gleamed in the dim light. Legs like buildings. Arms that held weapons larger than tanks. A machine, but not like any machine Teeman had ever seen. It stood 40 meters tall, covered in armor that was scarred and burned. On its chest was a symbol he barely recognized from old history files. A blue planet, a circle of stars. The mark of Earth, the giant machine turned its head toward the colony. Speakers crackled to life and a voice echoed across the ruins. This is Commander Jiwan of Earth's 7th Expeditionary Titan Corps. We heard your call. Hold fast. Teeman felt tears running down his face. Elder Kyung was laughing and crying at the same time. Hannah just stared in disbelief. They had thought no one would come. They had been wrong. The Krellith ground commander had been confident. His forces numbered 3,000 warriors, equipped with the best weapons the Dominion could provide. They had crushed 17 colonies before this one. Vareth Prime would be no different. The humans would break, as they always did. Then the sky started falling. At first, he thought they were asteroids. Some desperate attempt by the colonists to drop rocks on his forces. He laughed. His shields would handle rocks. But when the first object came through the atmosphere and his weapons officer reported that it was shrugging off concentrated plasma fire, he stopped laughing. The impact threw his command vehicle sideways. When the sensors cleared, he saw something rising from the crater. Something that made his blood run cold. Inside Titan Unit Iron Mountain, Jiwan ran through her post-drop checks with practiced ease. Reactor stable. Weapons hot. Hydraulics responding. All systems green. She had done this 42 times before. 42 desperate colonies. 42 battles. She was tired, but the exhaustion would have to wait. Thunder Fist report, she said into the comm. This is Daeyun. I am operational. I count approximately 500 enemy units in my sector. Engaging now. Steel Wind operational, Minji added. I have eyes on the enemy command structure. Requesting permission to eliminate. Granted, Huan said. All units remember the mission. Protect the colony. Show them what Earth can do. She pushed Iron Mountain forward. The Titan responded like an extension of her own body, 40 meters of steel and fury moving with impossible grace. The neural link fed her information directly into her brain. She could feel the weight of the machine, the power of its reactor, the readiness of its weapons. The Krellith opened fire. Plasma bolts, rail rounds, and missiles filled the air. Iron Mountain's shields flared as they absorbed the incoming fire. Gyuan did not slow down. She raised the Titan's right arm and fired. The rotary cannon spun up to full speed in half a second. Each round was the size of a grown man, traveling at hypersonic speeds. The first burst turned 6 Krellith tanks into scrap metal. The second burst caught a formation of infantry and erased them. Yuan felt nothing. She had learned long ago that feeling would get you killed. Daeyeon was younger, but he fought like he had been born in a cockpit. Thunder Fist was lighter than Iron Mountain, built for speed. He danced through the battlefield, dodging fire that would have crippled a slower machine. His weapons were different too, focused on precision rather than raw power. A Krelith walker, 20 meters tall and bristling with guns, tried to block his path. Thunder Fist did not slow. Daeyeon triggered the plasma blade, a weapon that burned hot enough to cut through ship armor. The blade extended from the Titan's forearm. 3 meters of contained starfire. He ducked under the walker's cannon fire, moved inside its reach, and drove the blade through its center mass. The walker exploded, pieces raining down across the battlefield. Daeyeon was already moving to his next target. "Watch your heat levels," Jiwon warned. "You are running too hot." "I know what I am doing," Daeyeon replied, but he throttled back anyway. The young pilot had skill, but he still had much to learn. Minji operated differently. Steel Wind was positioned on a ridge overlooking the battlefield, and she was methodically destroying the Krelith command structure. Her Titan carried long-range weapons, railguns that could punch through armor at 5 kilometers. She picked her targets carefully, watching the battle unfold through her sensors. "Enemy commander is trying to retreat," she reported. "Eliminating now." The railgun fired with a crack that split the air. 5 kilometers away, the Krelith command vehicle simply ceased to exist. The round hit with such force that it left a crater where the vehicle had been. The Krelith forces began to break. Without leadership, without any way to counter these metal giants, they did the only thing that made sense. They ran. G1 did not pursue. Her mission was to protect the colony, not to hunt fleeing enemies. "All units, hold position. Secure the perimeter. Medical teams begin civilian assessment." Inside the colony, Teeman watched the battle through the sensors. It was over in less than 2 hours. 2 hours to defeat an enemy that had besieged them for 3 months. He could not wrap his mind around it. "We need to go out there," Elder Kyung said. "We need to meet them. Are you crazy?" Hannah asked. "Those things just destroyed an army. What if they decide we are next?" "They came because we called for help," Kyung said firmly. "They are not our enemies." Teeman made the decision. "I will go. The rest of you stay here and coordinate rescue efforts. We still have wounded, and the colony needs attention." He took a transport to the nearest crater. Up close, the Titans were even more impressive. Iron Mountain stood like a metal mountain, its armor scarred and burned from countless battles. As Teeman approached, a hatch opened in the Titan's chest and a lift descended. Jiwon climbed out, and Teeman was surprised. He had expected someone larger, more intimidating. Instead, he saw a woman of average height, slim and tired-looking. She wore a pilot suit that was worn and patched. Her face was young, but her eyes were old. "You are Teeman?" she asked. Her accent was strange, old-fashioned. "Yes, I am the colony administrator." "Thank you. Thank you for coming. We thought we were going to die." "You are welcome," Jiwon said simply. She looked around at the damaged colony, the burning buildings, the wounded being carried to safety. "We came as fast as we could. I wish we could have been faster. You saved us. That is all that matters." Daeyeon joined them, pulling off his helmet. He was young, maybe 25. His hands were shaking slightly, the aftermath of combat adrenaline. "The perimeter is secure. No enemy contacts within 50 kilometers. "Good," Jiwon said. "Help with the wounded. That is our priority now." Teeman noticed something odd. The Earth soldiers moved with absolute efficiency, but there was a weariness to them. They had done this before. "Many times before. How many colonies have you saved?" he asked. Jiwon was quiet for a moment. "Verith Prime is the 43rd. 43. Teeman felt the weight of that number. "How long have you been doing this?" 3 years. We have been traveling for 3 years, following distress calls, helping where we can. But Earth is so far away. How did you even hear us?" Jiwon looked up at the sky, at the Krelith fleet that still controlled the orbit. "We have good sensors. And we made a promise." No human colony would face darkness alone. We keep our promises. The fleet, Tiemann said suddenly. They still control the sky. They can still destroy us from orbit. I know, Juwan said. A small smile crossed her face. But reinforcements are coming. The Indomitable should be here soon. Captain Sunwoo does not like being late. As if summoned by her words, alarms began blaring from the colony's sensor stations. Something new had entered the system. Something moving impossibly fast. Decelerating at speeds that would turn any crew to paste, the UEDS Indomitable had arrived, and the Krelith fleet was about to learn what it meant to face Earth's wrath. The Krelith fleet commander considered himself a reasonable being. He had destroyed planets, enslaved populations, and burned civilizations to ash. But he was not cruel without purpose. Cruelty was a tool, nothing more. When the strange metal giants had appeared on the surface, he had simply decided to end this quickly. Orbital bombardment would solve the problem. His weapons officer was preparing the firing solution. When the sensors screamed a warning, something was coming in from the outer system. Something that was breaking every law of physics he understood. Report, he commanded. Single vessel, sir? Unknown configuration. It is decelerating at 200 gravities. That is impossible. Any crew would be dead. Then it is unmanned. A drone weapon. Destroy it. The Krelith fleet turned its guns toward the newcomer. 12 warships, each one capable of cracking a planet. They fired as one, a wall of destruction that would vaporize anything in its path. The vessel dodged, not the slow, ponderous turn of a capital ship. It moved like a fighter, like something a tenth its size. The weapon's fire passed harmlessly through empty space. Before the Krelith could fire again, the newcomer closed the distance. It was among them now, and the commander realized with growing horror that this was not a drone, this was a warship. And it was hunting them. Captain Sunwoo sat in the command chair of the Indomitable, watching the tactical display with calm eyes. He had fought in 73 engagements. This would be 74. The numbers did not concern him. The Krelith were dangerous, but they fought with old tactics, old strategies. Earth had learned harder lessons. Lieutenant Yunji, you have firing control, he said quietly. Yunji's fingers flew across her console. She was the best weapons officer in the fleet, a woman who could thread a missile through a needle at 1,000 kilometers. She had never missed a shot that mattered. Targeting capital ship designated Alpha, she said. Firing solution locked. Fire. The Indomitable's main railgun spoke. The round left the barrel at a fraction of light speed, invisible to the naked eye. It hit the Krelith capital ship dead center, punched through its shields like they were paper, through its armor like it was nothing, and out the other side. The ship broke in half, atmosphere venting in a frozen cloud. The Krelith fleet scattered, trying to get distance, trying to bring their weapons to bear. The Indomitable did not give them the chance. Sunwoo pushed the ship into a banking turn that would have killed any normal crew, but his people were not normal. They had trained in Earth's brutal gravity, in centrifuges that pushed human limits. They wore suits that helped them endure forces that would liquefy colonist pilots. Missile swarm away, Yunji reported. Targeting ships Bravo through Echo. 100 missiles erupted from the Indomitable's launch tubes. But these were not simple explosives. Each missile had its own brain, its own sensors, its own ability to make decisions. They spread out across the battlefield, hunting. A Krelith destroyer tried to shoot them down. Its point defense systems destroyed 20, 40, 60, but there were too many and they were too smart. They learned from each destroyed missile, adapted their approach. 3 got through and hit the destroyer from different angles simultaneously. The ship came apart in a ball of fire. On the surface, Tiemann watched the battle through the colony's sensors. He could not believe what he was seeing. The Krelith had been invincible. They had crushed every defense the colony could mount. Now they were being destroyed like children's toys. How is this possible? He whispered. G1 stood beside him, her face unreadable. Earth never stopped advancing. While the colony spread across the stars, we stayed behind and learned to fight. But why? Who were you fighting? That is a long story, Jiwan said. One that we will tell you when this is over. Watch now. Watch what Earth can do. The Indomitable was dancing through the Krelith fleet, and it was beautiful in a terrible way. Sunwoo did not rely on heavy armor or powerful shields. His ship was faster, more agile, smarter than anything the Krelith had. He used that advantage ruthlessly. A Krelith battleship, 3 times the size of the Indomitable, tried to ram them. Sunwoo waited until the last possible second, then rolled his ship and fired thrusters. They passed so close that Timon could see the individual hull plates on his screen. As they passed, Yoonji fired a spread of shaped charges directly into the battleship's engines. The ship's reactor went critical and exploded. 6 ships remaining, Yoonji reported. Her voice was calm, professional. They are attempting to retreat. Let them go, Sunwoo said. Sir? Let them go. They will carry word of what happened here. Let them tell their leaders that human colonies are no longer easy prey. Let them spread fear. The remaining Krelith ships jumped to faster-than-light speed, running for their lives. The battle had lasted 37 minutes. 12 ships reduced to debris in half an hour. Timon felt his legs give out. He sat down hard on the floor, staring at nothing. 3 months of siege. 3 months of death and fear and desperation. Ended in 37 minutes. It is over? Elder Kyung asked. She sounded as stunned as Timon felt. Yes, Jiwan said. It is over. The Indomitable will remain in orbit. No one will threaten this colony again. Hannah was crying. Not from sadness, but from relief so profound it hurt. I need to contact them. I need to thank them. Guwon pulled out a communication device. Captain Sunwoo, this is Commander Jiwan. The colony wishes to speak with you. A moment later, a voice came through the speakers. Calm, measured, with that same strange accent. This is Captain Sunwoo. Are there casualties among the colonists? Some, Jiwan said, but far fewer than there would have been without your arrival. Good, I am sending down medical supplies and engineering teams. We will help repair the damage. Timon found his voice. Captain, this is Administrator Timon. I do not know how to thank you. You saved us all. You do not need to thank us, Sunwoo replied. We are all human. We take care of our own. The words were simple, but they carried weight. For 300 years, the colonies had been alone. Each settlement isolated, struggling to survive in a hostile galaxy. They had forgotten that they had a homeworld. They had forgotten they had family. Now that family had returned, and they came with fire and steel. Over the next hours, Earth ships began landing at the colony. Medical teams rushed to help the wounded. Engineers assessed the damage and began repairs. Soldiers stood guard, making sure no threat could approach. The colonists watched in amazement as their broken world began to heal. Tia Ami stood with Jiwon and watched the sunset. The sky was clear for the first time in months. No Krelith ships, no bombardment, just stars and the promise of a new beginning. Why did you come? He asked quietly. Why do you risk so much for colonies you have never met? Jiwon was silent for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice carried old pain. Because we know what it is like to be alone. We know what it is like to face extinction with no hope of rescue. We swore that no human would ever feel that way again. So we came. And we will keep coming for as long as there are humans who need help. What happened to Earth? Timon asked. Why did you go silent for 300 years? Yuan looked up at the stars. That is a story you need to hear. But not tonight. Tonight, help your people rebuild. Tomorrow, Captain Sunwoo and I will tell you everything. The truth about Earth, about why we disappeared, and about the war that forged us into what we are now. Timon nodded. He could wait one more day. For now, it was enough to be alive, to be safe, to know that humanity had not abandoned them after all. The meeting room had been hastily cleaned. Debris cleared away, Broken furniture replaced, emergency lights swapped for proper ones. It was not much, but it was the best the colony could do. Elder Kyung sat at the head of the table, with Timin and Hannah on either side. Across from them sat Captain Sunwoo, Commander Jiwon, and the young pilot Dae-yun. The tension in the room was strange. Not hostile, but uncertain. The colonists had so many questions, and they were not sure they wanted the answers. Sunwoo spoke first. His voice was gentle, but there was steel underneath. 317 years ago, Earth sent out the colony ships. You know this story. Humanity spreading to the stars, seeking new worlds, new opportunities. It was supposed to be a great adventure. But something went wrong, Timin said. Yes, 3 years after the last colony ship departed, they arrived. We call them the Harvesters. We never learned their real name. They did not communicate. They did not negotiate. They simply consumed. Guiwan pulled up a holographic display. It showed Earth's solar system, but it was surrounded by dark shapes. Hundreds of them, thousands. They came from outside the galaxy. Their ships were like nothing we had ever seen. Organic technology, grown rather than built. They could repair themselves, adapt to our weapons, learn from every engagement. Earth sent warning messages to all the colony ships, Sunwoo continued. But faster than light communication was still new then. The messages would take years to reach you. By the time you heard, we would already be dead or victorious. We told the colonies to keep going, to survive, to be humanity's future. Because we did not think we could win. Hannah leaned forward. But you did win. You are here. We survived, Zhuan corrected. There is a difference. Dae-yun spoke for the first time. His voice was young but hollow. I was born 83 years after the Harvesters arrived. I grew up in underground shelters. I never saw the sun until I was 12 years old. My parents were soldiers. My grandparents were soldiers. Everyone fought. There was no choice. The hologram changed, showing battles. Massive engagements in space, ground fighting on Earth itself, desperate last stands on Mars and the moons of Jupiter. The scale was hard to comprehend. Billions dead. Whole populations wiped out. For 200 years we held the line, Sunwoo said. We lost Earth's surface 3 times and took it back 3 times. We invented weapons that scared us. We turned our entire civilization into a war machine. Every resource, every person, every moment of every day was dedicated to survival. Children were raised in military academies, Jiwan added. There were no artists, no poets, no philosophers. There was only the war. We became very good at killing because that was all we knew how to do. Elder Kyung's hands trembled. How many people survived? On Earth? About 4 billion when the war ended. Down from 15 billion when it started. Sunwoo's voice was flat, reciting numbers that were almost too large to matter. We lost more people than currently live in all the colonies combined. The room was silent. Timin tried to imagine it. 300 years of war. Generations born and dying without ever knowing peace. The human cost was staggering. 53 years ago, we won, Sunwoo continued. We developed weapons that could finally destroy their ships faster than they could adapt. We pushed them back, system by system. The final battle was at the edge of the solar system. It lasted 6 months. When it was over, the Harvesters were gone. We had won. But Earth was broken, Jawan said softly. Our population was a fraction of what it had been. Our world was scarred. We had technology that could kill entire fleets, but we had forgotten how to simply live. Dae-yun looked at his hands. I am 26 years old. I have known peace for 8 years. Only 8. Sometimes I still wake up expecting alarms, expecting attack. I do not know how to exist without war. Hannah reached across the table and gently touched his hand. You will learn. We will help you learn. The young pilot looked up, surprised. Then he smiled, just a little. Thank you. When the war ended, we turned our sensors outward, Sunwoo said. We found that the colonies had spread far. Hundreds of worlds, millions of people. But you were scattered, isolated, and the galaxy was full of threats. Species like the Krellith, who saw weakness and attacked. We could have stayed on Earth, Jawan said. We could have rebuilt in isolation, focused on healing. But we had made a promise. The colonies were sent out to save humanity. Now it was our turn to save you. So we built the expeditionary corps, ships, and titans and soldiers. We mapped every distress signal we could find. And we started traveling. 43 colonies, Tiemann said. You said we were the 43rd you saved? Yes, some were under attack, like yours. Some were facing disasters, natural or otherwise. Some just needed help, resources, knowledge. We gave what we could and moved on. Why not stay? Elder Kyung asked. Why not settle on one of the colonies? Yuan smiled, but it was sad. Because there are more distress signals. Always more. As long as humans are calling for help, we will answer. That is who we are now. That is what the war made us. Sunwoo stood and walked to the window. Outside, Earth soldiers were working alongside colonists, repairing damaged buildings, treating the wounded, restoring power. We are not here to rule you. We are not here to take over. The colonies are yours, and you have every right to govern yourselves. But you are not alone anymore. Earth has returned, and we will protect our family. What happens now? Tiemann asked. Now we rebuild, Sunwoo said. We will stay for 2 months, help you repair your defenses, train your people. We will leave you weapons and technology to protect yourselves. And we will make sure every species in this sector knows that attacking human colonies means facing Earth. And then you leave, Hannah said. Yes, there are other colonies that need help, but we will leave communication equipment. You can contact us anytime. And there are more ships coming. Earth is sending out a full reconnection fleet. Diplomats, engineers, scientists, families. The isolation is ending. Elder Kyung stood slowly, using her cane for support. She walked around the table and stood before Juan. The old woman reached up and cupped the commander's face in her hands. You are so young, Kyung said softly. And you carry so much weight. I'm sorry. Sorry that Earth had to fight alone. Sorry that you had to grow up in war. Sorry that we were not there to help. Yuan's eyes glistened. For a moment, the hardened soldier was gone, replaced by a young woman who had seen too much. We are here now. That is what matters. Kyung pulled her into a hug. After a moment, Yuan hugged back. Sunwoo looked away, but Tiemann saw the moisture in the captain's eyes, too. They were all human. They had all suffered. They had all survived. And now, finally, they were together again. 6 months had changed everything. Vareth Prime's defense grid no longer flickered and failed. It stood strong, powered by Earth reactors and armed with weapons that made the old systems look like toys. The colony had tripled its population as refugees from nearby systems heard that this was a safe place. Protected by Earth.TAEM, I stood in the orbital station watching ships move through space below. Colonial freighters mixed with Earth patrol vessels. Trade was flowing again. Hope was returning. But today was different. Today was the gathering. Representatives from 47 colonies filled the station. Some had come eagerly, excited to reconnect with Earth. Others had come reluctantly, suspicious of Earth's intentions. All of them had questions. Elder Kyung had organized the meeting, calling on her contacts across human space. She stood at the podium now, old but unbowed. We were sent to the stars 300 years ago to be humanity's future. We succeeded. We built worlds, raised families, survived against terrible odds. We did this alone. She paused, letting the words sink in. But we do not have to be alone anymore. Earth has returned. Not as conquerors, but as family. Today we will hear from them. We will learn the truth. And we will decide together what comes next. Sunwoo took the podium next. He had changed in 6 months. The lines on his face were softer. He smiled more. Peace was good for him. I will be brief. Earth does not want to rule you. We want to reconnect. We want to share knowledge, technology, and defense. We want to ensure that no human colony ever faces annihilation alone. A representative from one of the outer colonies stood. His name was Taijin, and he was openly hostile. You say you want to help? But you bring warships. You bring soldiers? How do we know this is not an invasion? Sunwoo did not look offended. Because if we wanted to invade, you would already be conquered. The colonies do not have the military strength to resist Earth. That is not arrogance. That is simply fact. But we did not come to conquer. We came because it is the right thing to do. Then what do you want? Another representative asked. Her name was Youngmi, from a colony that had barely survived a plague. What does Earth gain from helping us? Jiwon stood up. She wore her dress uniform now, medals covering her chest. Each one represented a battle, a colony saved, a life spent in service. What do we gain? We gain the knowledge that humanity survives, that our sacrifice meant something, that the future we fought for is real. She walked to the center of the room, speaking directly to the assembled representatives. Earth is scarred. We lost billions. We lost centuries. We turned our entire world into a fortress and our people into warriors. We did this so that you could live, so that humans would still exist in the universe. Asking what we gain misses the point. You are what we gain. Your existence justifies our sacrifice. The room was silent. Taijin sat down slowly, his anger deflated. Daeyun approached the podium next. He looked nervous, but he spoke clearly. I am 26 years old. For 18 years of my life, I fought in a war. I killed before I learned to drive. I saw friends die before I learned what friendship truly meant. This is what Earth sacrificed. We gave up our childhood, our innocence, our peace. We did it willingly, because we knew the colonies needed time to grow strong. He looked around the room. Now I am learning what peace means. I am learning to live without fear. The colonies are teaching me this. You are giving back what we lost? That is what we gain. A chance to be human again instead of just soldiers. Hannah stood, representing Vareth Prime. 6 months ago, we were dying. The Krellith were going to wipe us out. Earth saved us. They asked for nothing in return. They stayed to help us rebuild. They trained our people. They left us stronger than we have ever been. This is not conquest. This is family. A message came through to the station's communication system. The operator looked up, shocked. Sirs, we have a contact at the system's edge. It is massive. The computer is having trouble calculating its size. Sunwoo smiled. That will be the homecoming. She is right on time. The holographic displays changed, showing the incoming vessel. It was not a warship. It was an Ark, a ship designed to carry thousands of people. As it approached, smaller vessels detached from it. Shuttles, transports, civilian craft. The homecoming carries Earth's diplomatic mission, Sunwoo explained. But it also carries families, teachers, doctors, engineers, artists, musicians, people who want to live among the colonies, people who want to share their skills and learn from you. A representative named Haijin stood. She was crying. You brought civilians? You are sending your people to live with us? Yes, Sunwoo said simply. Actions speak louder than words. We are not here to control you. We are here to live beside you. As equals. As family, the debate went on for hours. Some colonies wanted full integration with Earth. Others wanted to maintain independence while accepting aid. A few were still suspicious. But slowly, a consensus formed. They would create a Council of Worlds. Each colony would govern itself, but they would coordinate defense, share technology, and support each other. Earth would be one voice among many, not a ruler but a partner. An agreement was drafted, argued over, refined. As the sun set on the station, the representatives voted. Not everyone agreed, but the majority did. Humanity would reunite. Not as it had been, but as something new. Something stronger. Taemin found Jawan on the observation deck afterward. She was staring out at the stars, watching the homecoming dock. Shuttles were already bringing people to the station. He could see families through the windows, children pressing their faces against the glass, excited to see new worlds. "You did it," Timan said. "You brought us back together." "We all did it," Jiwan replied. "Earth provided the strength, but the colonies provided the hope. We needed each other." A small girl ran past them, chasing what looked like a floating toy. Her laughter echoed through the corridor. Jiwan watched her with something like wonder on her face. "I have not heard a child laugh like that in a very long time," she said quietly. On Earth, children learned to be quiet. Noise could draw attention, could get you killed. But here she is free. That is worth everything. Daeyeon joined them, no longer in his pilot suit but in simple civilian clothes. He looked uncomfortable, like he was not sure how to stand without armor. "Commander, the Titans are being loaded for transport. We ship out in 2 days. Where to next?" Timan asked. "A colony called New Sol. They are facing some kind of environmental disaster. We will help them stabilize it." "And then another colony. And another," Jiwan said. "Until every human world is safe. Until we can finally rest." "Will you rest?" Timan asked. "When it is over?" Jiwan smiled. "Maybe I would like to see Earth again. See if we have managed to rebuild anything beautiful. See if there are still oceans, forests, things worth fighting for beyond survival." "There are," Hana said, joining them. She had been speaking with the Earth engineers, learning everything she could. "I saw the records. Earth is healing. Slowly but surely. Maybe in another century it will be paradise again." "A century?" Daeyeon repeated. "I will be long dead by then." "But your children will see it," Elder Kyung said, arriving with the slow dignity of age. "And their children. That is what we fight for. Not for today, but for tomorrow." They stood together watching as the homecoming continued to unload. Families meeting colonists. Earth soldiers talking to local security forces. Engineers sharing schematics. Teachers discussing curricula. Artists showing their work. Musicians playing songs that had not been heard in the colonies for 300 years. 2 civilizations, separated by time and distance, learning to be one again. "We thought no one would come," Timan said quietly, repeating the words he had said half a year ago when Iron Mountain had risen from the crater. "We thought we were alone." Jiwan put her hand on his shoulder. "You were never alone. We were always coming. We just had to win our war first. Now we are here, and we will never let you face the darkness alone again." In the distance, more ships were arriving. Colony vessels, Earth transports, traders, explorers, families seeking new homes. The isolation was ending. The long night was over. Humanity had been scattered across the stars, each fragment struggling to survive in the dark. Now they were coming together again, bringing their light with them. The galaxy was still dangerous. There would be more threats, more battles, more challenges, but they would face them together. The Titans of Earth had fallen from the sky. Now they stood watch over a reunited humanity, guardians of a future earned through sacrifice and built on hope. The story of humanity's isolation had ended. The story of humanity's unity had just begun.